All right, guys, what's up, everybody? This is a mini segment that we're doing here on Remembrance Day, November 11, 2020. We are doing what I like to call just the news. So it's essentially geek news and rumors. So if you guys are watching this, it's going to premiere on November 11th at 6:30 p.m. in our usual time slot. Unfortunately, we were not able to produce the show this week. We all had prior engagements that unfortunately we could not get out of. But myself, Dave, and our special guest Kay were able to jump in and do this mini segment that we're going to be doing. We're probably going to be on for like 20-30 minutes. We're going to see how much time it takes to get through all the ridiculousness that we've seen in the past week in the news. I think if anything, Dave, let's start this off because this was the one that really, you and I were both really upset about this. And it feels
I don't even know where to start.
Maybe we should like Kay read it so that we have opinion.
Can you read it
and
we'll react
headline and just give people. I feel like if we jump in, we're gonna sound like angry, bitter people.
But I might sound like an angry, bitter person as well. So I mean, all right. So I guess we're talking about Lucasfilm. The executives from Lucasfilm actually defending the Mandalorian's controversial Baby Yoda moment. So I'm not even somebody that watches the Mandalorian. You guys know that. But anyways.
So this for those of you who haven't seen it, and for those of you who are waiting until all the episodes of season 2 have dropped and are going to binge them on Disney Plus, I understand that. I've been seeing a lot of people do that, which is an interesting conversation in itself about the model of streaming content these days, that some people are willing to wait week to week and some people are willing to jump in at the end of a series, even though things will get spoiled like this. In episode 10, The Passenger, Baby Yoda is seen eating the eggs of a frog woman who is traveling with the Mandalorian sublight speed, specifically because she's carrying the eggs that she needs to have fertilized by her husband, who lives in a different quadrant. The reason it's important to travel at sublight speed is because traveling at light speed could damage the eggs, which was a very important part. She is at, I guess, the end of her cycle. She implied that these were the last of the eggs that she could produce, that if she didn't get these eggs fertilized, it was the end of her line for her family. And that was why it was very important to have as many eggs as possible for as many opportunities, chances of them getting fertilized. In the episode, however, Baby Yoda is seen opening the canister and eating the eggs from the frog woman, not once, not twice, but on 3 occasions, actively seeking out to eat them every chance he got, with Mando pretty much being a parent and having to be like, no, and like almost having to smack his hand to get him away from it. Some people took the internet, were very upset. They felt that it was making fun of women who... I'm not going to try and I'm not trying to disrespect the women and their opinions. But some of them were upset. They felt that it was making light of the idea of a woman who has limited chances for child rearing. They thought it was, the fact that the frog lady repeatedly, sorry, Kay's face, the fact that the frog lady repeatedly kept making the point that this is detrimental to her existence. They felt that it was very mean-spirited and an insulting joke. Okay, so now that I've done the serious journalistic thing of explaining it, can we tear this apart? Because it is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life.
It's the definition of stupid. No offense. Whoever is doing this is, no offense, you're allowed to have an opinion.
Yeah,
but you're reading way too into Star Wars, and this is stupid. First of all, we're talking about aliens. One, there's no and Star Wars are their own thing. They've never associated saying that a specific species relates to any culture or anything to do with actual humans. One,
as much as people on the outside have tried to, they themselves have never done it.
Yeah, and furthermore, like, this is also a natural thing that does happen in like the animal kingdom, where other animals eat the eggs or children of other lesser beings.
Yeah.
Third of all, I guarantee the fault. There's a few points here, and I'll sum up my hate very quickly. One, if you're a meat eater, you're fucking stupid. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
If you eat eggs, shut the fuck up. You're stupid.
Yeah.
If you're a vegan, if you are a mother who's being upset by what I'm saying, all I'll say is this: if you feed your child meat or eggs, you're a stupid fucking hypocrite and don't understand what your own argument is.
Yeah.
Drop the mic.
I can't be mad at what you just said. It's like I can't be mad at it. I cannot be mad at it because I'm reading this and I'm like, stop putting your own trauma and your own perception of your reality onto something that is completely coming out of somebody else's imagination. Like, first of all, we're talking about it's a baby fantasy alien. Okay, it's a fantasy baby alien. So first of all, we can assume that if ever aliens work in the same way humans were to work, it's a baby. Babies are known to do things that they don't like. There's consequences. They just don't know. They don't understand. They don't care. They just do things.
Hey, that is a valid point. Yeah.
That's a baby. 1. 2. Okay, the baby ate the eggs. How many eggs were there in the canister anyways? You know what I mean? Yeah. Exactly. 3. It's fiction. Just let people be. Just let people's imagination run wild and do things and trying to change them because it does not fit your narrative. First of all, I'm pretty sure you just started watching fantasy and anime things anyways, because that's the new wave. And I'm bothered by that. So don't be trying to change people's imaginations when it comes to certain things. It just bothers me. Why? Why was a child, a baby alien, not supposed to eggs in a cancer? Because the lady alien said, these are important and these are my last eggs. Actually, it is what it is. It doesn't exist. It's created. So if I am the creator and I want the baby to eat the eggs, the baby gonna eat the eggs.
Yeah, there you go. I want to latch on real quick to one of the things that Kay said that I didn't even think about. I think one of the most important things in the story is that the idea that a baby would do this is more important than how you feel. A baby who sees something that looks tasty will put that something tasty in their mouth. They're babies. They don't have the comprehension of what this action means. And I mean, I didn't even think about it this way, but Kate is to the point. The baby doesn't understand when the woman says, this is the last of my line. I'm trying to protect my lineage. The baby doesn't care because the baby does not understand that. It means absolutely nothing to them. They don't get that. You're speaking pure gibberish to the baby. You can see in the show that the baby, the child, as people are as the name, doesn't fully understand everything Mando says, but more the energy of what Mando is saying. Like the child reacts to the tone of the voice or the energy that Mando gives off. So when Mando seems tense or angry, the child closes its pod because it knows something's about to happen. It understands body language. And another aspect of this, super quick, and I'm done with it after. If these eggs were so important to her, as someone who watched the episode, why did she leave them in a canister underneath down below? If I know that's victim blaming. So people will say like, oh, she should have been able to trust it. But I'm sorry, the child, you're leaving a canister full of something alone with a baby that doesn't understand, it doesn't know anything. I personally would want to keep a closer eye if I felt that this was the end of my line. And I get the victim blaming argument, but at the same time, you got to take a little bit of responsibility in watching something that you say is that important. That to me seems important. So anyway,
I'm gonna show how the victim blaming thing can't even happen, and that you shouldn't even said any of that. So first and foremost, I completely agree with both.
No. I don't want to trip that up. Victim blaming is victim blaming. It is victim blaming. Yeah, it is. I don't want to try and turn that away. Yeah.
I'm not arguing that, but I'll put a very strong reason why it shouldn't be a discussion. First and foremost, if anything, I think this is more of a commentary on how important parenting is. you're supposed to properly take care of the Yoda baby to make sure he's not doing something stupid and or putting things in his mouth that he's not supposed to. Second of all, if I have a kid or eggs, I'm going to protect them. So she should have never let them out of her sight if they're that important. 1. 2, there's this saying called fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, I'm a dick. And that's what this is. Like it happened once, it's the baby's fault. It happened a second time, third time, this is you not being a good parent, technically.
I feel like that. Yeah, I don't address that to her. I address that to Mando. Mando saw that the child was doing it. It seems like in the show, the mother never noticed that the eggs were being eaten because she never
It was only Mando?
Yeah, because when you watch the episode, it doesn't seem like she realizes how many eggs have gone missing. And I don't know how many eggs the child ate. Like, you can't tell. Like, I definitely know at the beginning of the episode, the canister looks more full than at the end of the episode. I don't know how many the child ate. I know they end the episode with the child sneaking one last that he had kept and pops it in his mouth as the episode ends. And it's just like, that is a dark, dark idea. But also, hey, like Kay said, this is a fantasy fictional universe that this child is not a direct correlation to you as the person. And you have to be able to watch these shows for what they are. And Kay also touched on something that I think is important, that one day, I'm down to discuss it, the new interest in geek pop culture is leading to a lot more policing in the writing of that content. And I don't necessarily find that interesting because people are trying to put their personal morals onto fantasy worlds where these fantasy worlds don't fit in our narrative.
Agreed.
Yeah, but that's the point.
Agreed.
Like, the point
and also
is that it's a fantasy.
Yeah, but also eggs. Also, like Dave said, we eat eggs. These are we eat unfertilized eggs. There's some cultures that eat fertilized eggs. These are unfertilized eggs. I don't see the problem.
Yeah. So that conversation was pretty much the main reason why we wanted to jump on and have this. But there is more geek news out there this week. First off, Johnny Depp has resigned from Fantastic Beasts franchise. For those of you who don't know, Johnny Depp was in a libel suit with a UK newspaper called The Sun. The libel was because The Sun called him a wife beater after allegations about his assault towards Amber Heard were written up in the newspaper. Depp took them to court because he said being called a wife beater is libel, and they were waiting for the case to move forward. My apologies, guys. I forgot to mute that part. Once the case was heard, the judge essentially decided that, they called you a wife beater, and based on the evidence that I've heard from Amber Heard and the evidence I've heard from other people, sounds like you beat your wife. So he judged in favor of The Sun, and Johnny Depp lost his case, which meant now Warner Brothers had the decision of, do we keep someone who's been called a wife beater and has lost the case defending themselves as such against such a name? Do we keep them on? They decided that they didn't want to keep him on and asked him to resign from the franchise. They didn't fire him. He was asked to resign. Which I don't know if anybody else read the other piece, but he still gets paid his 8 figures for shooting one day, even after resigning, which is wild. But that's a whole other thing.
Well, Lord knows he's going to need that money for all his legal debts now, but
no, he's not having to pay out to. He has to pay his lawyer and stuff. But I don't think he doesn't have to pay out to The Sun, from what I understand. He lost the libel suit. It was his suit against theirs. I don't think he has to pay unless there's some stipulation where he has to pay for their legal team. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, man, he's resigned. I think one of the things that I find unfortunate about this whole situation is Amber Heard also came out as being abusive in this. And there's a petition now on change.org that is trying to have her removed or ask for her to resign from her Warner Brothers project, which is Aquaman 2. What do you guys think? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I've read few things far in between about this, but I remember when I was first reading it, because it's obviously a few years, like it's been like over a year that this has been happening. I don't like saying this because, you know, being a guy, I don't want to like say, oh, I'm just defending a guy because I'm defending a guy. But from what it sounded like she was very, very abusive in their relationship as well. Is that to say that Johnny Depp didn't do the things he did? Maybe he did, but maybe he did them out of defense. I don't know. Like, I've not read any of the legal documents, but I also know for a fact that like she's essentially robbed, like their divorce, she was already essentially robbing Johnny Depp. Like, if you actually read the figures and stuff, I was like, wow, like even being who he is, like, are you even gonna have money after this? Because like she's getting like something ridiculous to like 100, somewhere between 50 to like 100 grand a month in like alimony or whatever. Which
can you look that up while I'm going to explain something? I just want to know the fact. Can you look that part up to see if you can find that source?
I can see if I could try and find, because it was an article I read like over a year ago.
Amber Heard alimony Johnny Depp. Okay, what are your thoughts on this? I just because I want him, if we could cite the source when he for what he said. But what are your thoughts on this?
So in any situation where a man beats a woman, this is never okay, right? It's never okay. In a situation in which they both beat on each other, that's a whole different conversation, in my opinion. That just means the two toxic people got together, never knew how to get out of it, and just decided to get physical with one another. And now, in the eyes of society tends to take the plea of women in that situation based on, you know, prior conversations in mainstream media, are also based on the fact that usually, you know, in a lot of cases, you know, it happens to be the men beating on the women, when there's also instances of women beating on the men. But when it comes to dealing with two people that are, you know, beating on each other and being abusive towards one another, I feel like the law might need to like review how they deal with that a little bit more. Because it seems that in these situations, the men always end up being the one that has to, you know, deal with the consequences, and the women might have to deal with it less. But again, saying it's never okay for anybody to beat on anybody. I'm not giving excuses. This is not me making excuses or anything. I just feel that if you're really going to give justice to people, it needs to be justice for everyone equally. So now, you know, apparently I was going through articles. There's a few statements in these articles that mention the fact that there's witnesses that state that on many occasions she was abusive towards him, but there's also statement that said that on many occasions he was abusive towards her. So does she deserve to lose her job? Well, he lost his job, so why wouldn't she lose her job? You know what I mean? But then at the same time, I don't have the facts on the extent to which they were being aggressive and abusive towards each other. So that's difficult to say.
That's a fair point. Yeah. I definitely, oh, sorry. You found
I found something that at least gives a little bit. So basically at the end of the day, I found a Forbes article, and although it is glorifying her in the sense that she got $7 million from the divorce and she's going to donate it to charity. Reports soon emerged that Heard was seeking $50,000 a month in alimony.
Okay.
But then they ended up reaching a settlement of $7 million, which, like, it's still like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a little weird. And like, honestly, her play to like donate that money instantly to charity. I'm sorry, if I was someone who was potentially doing something wrong, like being part of the problem, that's something I would do for people to ignore me.
Yeah, I think I definitely see what you're saying in the sense that she's taking advantage of. So she knows she was abusive. She knows he was abusive. They were both abusing each other. To play it up, though, she, you know, was trying to get $50,000 a month or whatever alimony. They came to an agreement for $7 million. She donated that money and says, and if anything, she probably donated the money to a charity for abused women. Because I was thinking, if I'm a fixer and or if I work in PR and I know Amber's side of the story and I know Johnny's side of the story, and I know eventually her actions are going to come out and she's also going to look aggressive and abusive, I'm doing everything in my power to make it look like she was trying to A, get better, B, give money to a system that would support and protect people who've been abused. So again, if she gave the money, if it's $7 million, silver lining to this very unfortunate situation. I do, however, think that, like Kay said, if you're gonna remove Johnny from his project because it came out that he was abusive, I feel like if Amber, because there's a lot of stuff in those articles where they both were aggressive, both abusive, they both were actively trying to hurt each other, both emotionally and physically. It sounds like Johnny being the only one tossed under the bus is unfair. I will flip the script on it in one way, though. I understand that Johnny's punishment is coming from a system that didn't always address men abusing women, and that's this is very much like I would say this is a pendulum swing, right? The pendulum is swinging hard the other way. Whether or not Johnny was the aggressor in the relationship or the primary abuser in the relationship, they were both abusive. But because for so long women did not get retribution or did not get seen for the abuse that they were dealing with, Johnny is getting part of that, and that's unfortunate. But I also understand that movement happening. It is a thing.
Of course, and like obviously historically speaking, it's always been even like not to like bring it down on a physical level. I mean, it's always been something historically. It's been more men, and then obviously in these types of scenarios, one would always imagine that usually the guy is bigger or stronger or whatever. So obviously the likeliness that the man is doing more of the physical hurting is more likely. Like but for me, it's just the concept of like, we do have to, like, I agree with the pendulum swings, and I agree that we have to do those things so that like the OGs of this problem get their hands slapped.
When I say pendulum swing, I'm not saying it's a must. I'm saying it's a societal shift. That's what it is. I'm not saying they I don't even think they're doing it intentionally. I think it just happens that we start to make these decisions based on the fact that there's a shift, and that's just the way it's swung right now. Kay, sorry. Oh, you're muted, by the way, Kay, real quick. Sorry.
Also, the fact that this is a very public figure. We're talking about Johnny Depp. We're not talking about, like, it is well known across the world. So I think sometimes it's also to make a statement that, yes, you have money, yes, you have all that, whatever, but you're still not above the law, which tends to be harsher on people of that specific social status. But I'm actually looking through things, and I saw that they actually went to his ex-wife, Vanessa Paradis, which is a French singer. They were married for a couple of years, and from the statements, everybody seems to say, "Hey, he was never violent with me." So when I hear stories like that, I always tend to want to analyze the actual unit in which that person reacted that way. Yeah, because it says a lot. Because usually, I mean, I believe everybody's capable of being violent, but I think you need the right set of circumstances to come out of you.
Okay.
Yeah. Continuing with
also, Johnny doesn't really have much of a history with that. He has a history with drugs and stuff and experimenting, but he doesn't have a history of like driving cars through things and blaming other people or whatever.
He's not Robert Downey Jr. and we know that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm joking. I'm sorry. But continuing with the conversation on, for example, things related to Me Too or injustice towards women. Writer Nadria Tucker was recently let go from the upcoming CW Superman and Lois series in a series of tweets that were released on, I'm just going to pull them up real quick, apologies, if I'm not mistaken, on the 6th? Yeah, on November 6th. Nadria said, some personal news Wednesday, I got word from my contract on Superman and Lois won't be extended. My service no longer needed. My outline and draft subpar. In brackets, obviously I disagree with that last bit, LOL, close brackets. This is after a month of me flagging Me Too jokes, the dialogue, of me defending the Bell test, of me fighting to ensure the only black faces on screen aren't villains, of me pitching stories for female characters, in brackets, there's only one in the title of the series, close brackets, that went ignored. If I sound bitter, it's because this one stings. I've been assured by colleagues I was great in the room, so I know I'm not nuts. I debated whether to post this of my own mental well-being demands that I do. But my own mental well-being demands that I do. The only way shit changes is to expose it. End of tweets. Yeah, I mean, I was at Montreal Comic Con a couple years ago, and there was a Middle Eastern man who was working in gaming, and he was on a panel. and he said they were working on a video game, sandbox video game, and while working on it, he noticed when they were looking at one of the last renders that all the prostitutes in the game were women of color, all the bad guys in the game and thugs and stuff were people of color, and all the like tertiary characters in the background were just predominantly white people. And he brought that up in the room. He himself, a Middle Eastern person, but he noticed specifically that people of color, he was talking about people of darker complexion, so brown and black people were being depicted as prostitutes and thugs. So he said he brought it up in the room, and he was the only person closely that appeared closer to a person of color in the room. He was also the only. There were also no other minorities in the sense that there were no women in the room. And he said the whole room looked at him, confused for a second, and then they all looked and realized what he was saying was true, and all had this moment. And this is when people say the word woke, this is actually the moment they're talking about, funny enough. That moment of realization where someone points out something that you have never seen before or just didn't notice because it wasn't part of your everyday to day. And they point it out to you and you can never unsee it. And he just pointed out that in a room full of people, one person being Middle Eastern, everyone else in the room being white, that they inadvertently made all the women of color prostitutes and all the men of color thugs and drug dealers and stuff in the game. And he said that it's important for someone in the room to speak up. We said this last week when we were talking about the fact that when they're working on Star Wars, The Mandalorian, someone suggested getting a deaf person to help them develop the Tusken Raider language, because the sign language, because a deaf person would have a better ability with helping them come up with signs to represent things. And that's the whole comment, that someone in the room has to speak up. I don't know that Nadria, apologies, Tucker, is the only person of color in the room or the only woman in the room, but it sounds like she was one of the most vocal ones. And I'm not saying she's 100% correct. I don't know what else happened in that room, but it is a little suspicious that she's being let go after bringing stuff up.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing about something like this is that that's one of the risks. Like, I don't like to say this, and I also hate being the person who's the white person in the room saying this.
He didn't have
unfortunately a risk that you take when
he's choosing to say it. I gotta tease you when you say something like that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying that, like,
I don't like being
part of the risk, though. No, but part of the risk, though. Like, when you speak up, it is. When you speak up, it doesn't matter. Even in any job, even regardless of skin color or culture or whatever, if everyone in the room is saying, yes, we want this, but you know that there's something morally wrong about going on, when you raise up your hand, you're going to get one of two reactions. Either A, everyone is going to agree, or everyone's going to tell you, shut up and take your place.
I just think it's unfortunate that, we know that the movie industry is predominantly white and men. Let me just say that the movie industry 100%. Is predominantly white men taking charge of everything, right? There's not a lot of women. There's more and more coming up. There's not a lot of minority. There's more and more coming up, but it's still not, it's still not enough, right? So I just find it unfortunate, especially in the climate that we currently live in, for a network or whoever made the decision to fire her. I just find it very unfortunate to decide to fire somebody after these specific things were said. Because one, it doesn't look good for you as a network. Now, social media is way too big. When I'm looking at the tweets and the reach that she had, I just feel like if the right person was to retweet this and post it on Instagram, this would go viral. And then now the network has a problem. So that's why I'm saying I find it unfortunate that their solution was not to say, you know what, let's try and incorporate a little bit of what you're saying. Maybe we can't do everything at once because, people take time to change or whatever, but let's try and incorporate it little by little. Yeah. And I just feel, for all the people watching this that do want to work in these industries, if you're a minority, if you're a woman, just be aware that, like Dave said, these situations will probably present themselves, and it's a question of a choice. What do you do? What do you stand for? There's more and more minorities and women that actually work in this industry and that produce very good quality content. So you could choose to, not say anything and maybe go against your values. Or you could just be like, you know what, maybe I'll try and find work where, these things are appreciated. I think that's sad. I just think it's sad.
I actually hope that her reach, I hope that it strikes a nerve with the right person who then, as Kay was saying, like then does the share or does the tweet or does the whatever that then makes the snowball happen. Because it's not fair that this happens, and it's not. And the thing that sucks is like sometimes it's not even like it might not necessarily be representative of the network as a whole. It might be representative of the team assigned to that project, because CW does have some shows that are predominantly Black characters. Like we have Black Lightning and whatnot. I don't know who's writing them and stuff like that. I'm not going to pretend I do. But again, maybe this is a silo situation. But if it's not a silo situation, and it's actually the whole network, you have to address it. Unfortunately, I have. Sorry?
You have to head out?
Yeah, I have to head out, unfortunately. But finish the news. I'll say for the Umbrella Academy, I'm super excited for that. And but I'll leave you guys to it. And great talk. And again, the mothers complain about Mandalorian. Like, do something better with your time.
Continuing real quick. Sorry. Okay, I'll focus back. I mean, I agree with everything that you guys are saying with Nadria, and I think one of the things that Dave touched on that is important is the fact that the idea of potentially a silo versus a widespread thing at the company. I'm hoping he's right. I'm hoping it's isolated and that it's something that they'll investigate and address. And hopefully it's something that won't happen again in the future. Because that's super. Thing that can't continue. But it's true. We do have to wrap things up pretty quickly. So I will. Umbrella Academy renewed for season 3 by Netflix.
Yay.
I think we're all pretty excited for that. They've actually caught up to the trade, the comic book itself. So the last episode of last season has an ending that's similar to the last major arc in the comic book. So they're both going to be kind of approaching that storyline however they choose, hopefully different ways, because that's always kind of fun to see. Same way that Game of Thrones and the books are going to be on diverging paths. I think it's cool that Umbrella Academy will be doing that. This is one that we were laughing about. Amazon Scout delivery robots are slowly putting around 4 areas in the United States. So they've built Scout robots that they are that currently one of the places that they have it is Washington State, and these little delivery Scout robots, they kind of look like your standard cute little robot, 6 wheels, can travel all sorts of terrain. It looks like it can climb stairs based on the wheel design. Maybe I can share my screen because this is something that I'm finding.
They look so cute.
They do look cute. I will give you that. But it's just also crazy to think that this is the technology that we're at. Like,
I mean, listen, when I was a kid, I was dreaming of these. Okay, when I was watching all my little sci-fi movies and things, this is what I wanted. I wanted for us to be there, and we're there, and I don't get to try them because they're not being tested in Canada right now. This is really sad.
Yeah, so this little prime robot that the Amazon Scout robots take pavement in Washington State. This article is from January 2019. There's actually a more updated article that showed they were testing it out in Irvine, California as well, and a few other places. I personally think they should be testing out stuff like this in Montreal, and because I know Kay would like it just because she thinks it's cute. I think they should be testing it out because we have the most drastic, different terrain. We have hills. We have really hot summers. We have really cold winters. We have a lot of wet terrain. It seems like the perfect place to test all.
Talk about the roads. Talk about the roads. I want to see if they can actually move around these massive potholes that we have in the city.
True. That's a very good point. Yeah, the idea of a mini Scout robot driving around and trying to deliver packages on just imagine Montreal where there's constantly construction. And one of the articles I was reading was explaining they can't use GPS because GPS isn't accurate enough because these boxes have to deliver something to your front door.
Yeah.
So it has to essentially have an image of your street, an image of your door. what happens when you have construction blocking your street and they can't get to you and stuff like that? Like, these are all the crazy things. Also, it makes me wonder, like, what are these scouts going to do when you're not home and they can't deliver it? Does it leave it on your door? Does it keep it? Does it, so many questions, but I'm interested.
So cute. I love it.
Sure. The last bit of news that we have, a very sad piece here. Alex Trebek, the host of Jeopardy, passed away at the age 80 after fighting pancreatic cancer. It's very sad. They announced this November 8th, I think, that he had passed away on the official Jeopardy Twitter. I mean, I grew up. He took over the show the year after I was born in 1984. So he is the host of Jeopardy as far as I know. And it's very, very sad to see that he's gone. Not much I can say other than, we unfortunately had to expect something was going to happen when he announced initially that he had pancreatic cancer. It's not necessarily the easiest one to deal with. It doesn't have the best survival rate. He was also very high. Like, I think he had because it's like in levels, right? It's like stage 1,
different stages.
Yeah, he was in one of the higher stages already.
So what, stage 4?
Yeah. He gave us a lot of hope with that smile, though. That man didn't let us down. He said he was going to be there. He said he was going to work hard, and it's very sad to see that he passed away. But rest in peace to Alex Trebek. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The last thing I wanted to say, was there anything you wanted to say before I sign off?
Amazon, please send your test robots to Montreal. Thank you.
Also, don't forget to check out all things. Kay is gonna follow her on social media, at Sok.Kay, Sok.Ky. If you guys are watching this, you can see it on the screen. If you're listening to this, yeah, check her out. Everything, FrankArmstrong.com. Kay, where else can they find your stuff?
Well, actually, we just started, our videos, Agree to Disagree with Nikki Music, that are available on my IGTV, so at Sok.Kay, Sok.Ky, but also available on our YouTube channel.
Bong, bong. I'll put that back. So there you go, guys. It's scrolling at the bottom. But for those of you who don't know, you can always just go to franklinarmstrong.com and just click on our YouTube. It'll take you straight to it. Or you can just type this in bit.ly/capital F, capital A, capital N, capital Y, OUTUBE. That's fam YouTube.
Yep. You'll find all our content over there.
Yeah, we're going to be doing great things. I want to end this off by having one moment, just 1 minute of silence for the soldiers who passed away and the soldiers who still live here on Remembrance Day. I know a lot of people don't love what war stands for, nor do I. I don't think anyone appreciates what it stands for. I think it's unfortunate that soldiers even had to go into battle, but at the same time, they were doing what needed to be done to help protect the freedoms that we have right now, the ability to be able to even have these conversations and to live the life we lead, especially a young black man, a young black woman, able to discuss anything, which way what we want. If certain people had their way, we would be silenced and never had the opportunity to do the things we do. And soldiers fought for our rights to do that. And I just want to give them a moment. So we're going to give them a moment of silence, 1 minute, and then we're going to play our outro. And that will be it for us, guys, here on this Just the News edition of Geektastic Typho. So 1 moment starting now, folks. And that's it, folks. We're signing off this week. Oh, just trying to play the outro and it froze on me. But we're signing off this week. I want to thank Kay specifically for jumping in. I know this was a last minute thing. We kind of just wanted to. It really came from the conversation about these crazy people and the controversy over Baby Yoda, but we definitely still wanted to have that conversation. So thank you so much, Kay, for being able to jump in and cover the news with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. We're definitely gonna have you back soon. Guys, that's it. That's all. This was another edition. Once again, this is just the news on Geektastic Sci-Fi, and we're out. We'll be back next week, November 18th, with a new edition.